My parents tried to control my career and ruined my future. So I cut them off, proved them wrong, and built a life without them. I never thought getting my dream job would be the thing that made me lose my family. But looking back, I guess I should have seen it coming. I grew up in a house where everything revolved around my parents' expectations. My dad, a lawyer, and my mom, a teacher, had a very specific idea of what my future should look like: school, top grades, a respectable job. Something impressive that they could brag about to their friends. My younger sister, Emily, was the golden child, the one who could do no wrong, while I was the one who always had to be better. From the moment I turned 13, my life was basically a career boot camp. I had to pick an extracurricular that looked good on college applications, study for hours, and get a job shadowing gig at my dad's law firm during the summers, even though I had zero interest in law. Every single conversation at the dinner table revolved around my future. What's your 5-year plan? You should start prepping for the LSAT now. You don't want to embarrass us by settling for something mediocre, do you? It never really mattered what I wanted. I tried telling them I had no interest in law, but they just brushed it off as a phase. I liked writing. I liked creative projects. I wanted something different. But to them, different meant failure. By the time I got to college, I was miserable. I had let them push me into majoring in political science, but I hated every second of it. Meanwhile, Emily was coasting through life, changing her major 3 times, while my parents covered everything: tuition, rent, spending money. I, on the other hand, was expected to handle my own expenses. My parents said it was because I was more responsible and needed to learn independence. In reality, they just wanted me to feel trapped, like I owed them something. But everything changed during my junior year. I had been doing freelance work on the side, small writing gigs, marketing projects, anything I could get. It started as a way to make extra cash, but I realized I loved it. Unlike the dry, soulless law internship my dad had lined up for me, these projects actually made me feel alive. I spent hours learning everything I could about digital marketing, writing, and branding. Then, in my senior year, I landed a remote internship at a top-tier media company. It was everything I wanted: real projects, creative work, connections with people in the industry. I was finally excited about my future. When I told my parents, I expected them to be at least somewhat happy for me. Instead, they lost their minds. My dad shook his head, his voice dripping with disappointment. "You're throwing your future away for some internet job?" My mom scoffed. "That's not a real career. How do you expect to support yourself?" I told them that the company was well known, that I could grow from this, that people were making 6 figures in this field, but they didn't care. "You're not going to waste your degree on this nonsense," my dad snapped. "You're applying to law schools. End of discussion." That night, I made a decision. I wasn't going to ask for their approval anymore. I threw myself into my work. The internship turned into a full-time offer after graduation. It wasn't a massive salary, but it was mine. I rented a tiny studio apartment, lived cheaply, and worked my ass off. My parents kept waiting for me to fail. They kept calling, offering to help me get back on track, which really meant come back home and let us control you. I refused. I knew what they were trying to do. If I took a dime from them, I'd be stuck. The real breaking point came when they tried to sabotage me. One day I got a call from HR. Someone had emailed them, claiming I had lied on my resume and that I had plagiarized my work. They attached fake screenshots as proof. I felt sick, but when HR forwarded the email, my blood went cold. It was from my dad's office email. I confronted him immediately. At first, he denied it. Then he tried to justify it. "I was doing you a favor. I thought if you lost the job, you'd finally see reason." I hung up. That was the last time I ever spoke to him. But I didn't just survive. I thrived. My boss knew the allegations were bullshit. I had already built a solid reputation, and my work spoke for itself. Instead of taking me down, my parents' pathetic stunt motivated me even more. Over the next 2 years, I climbed the ranks. I built my own brand. By 27, I was making double what I would have made as a junior lawyer. I traveled. I met amazing people. I built a life that was mine. Meanwhile, my parents kept trying to control the narrative. They told extended family that I was going through a phase and would come crawling back when I realized my mistake. When that didn't happen, they turned to Emily. Emily had never faced the same pressure I did. She was free to do whatever she wanted. But when she graduated and struggled to find a job, my parents blamed me. You could be helping your sister, my mom emailed. She's struggling and you're out there living selfishly. Family helps family. I didn't respond. Then Emily messaged me herself. You're such an asshole. Mom and Dad did everything for you, and now you're just ignoring them? Do you even care about this family? I typed out a response, then deleted it. Because the truth is, I didn't owe them anything. Not after everything they did. Not after they tried to ruin me just to prove a point. I blocked her. 3 more years passed. I was making more money than I ever thought possible. My company offered me an executive position. My parents, once so confident that I'd come back begging, were now panicking. The emails became more desperate. You don't have to prove a point anymore. We just want our son back. We're struggling financially. You could help if you weren't so selfish. Do you really want to die without a family? I didn't answer. I had already built my family. The friends who supported me. The people who celebrated my success instead of trying to control it. Then, one day, I got the final message. We're selling the house. We thought you'd want to know. That was it. No guilt, no demands, just a simple statement. I stared at the email for a long time. And then I deleted it. My parents spent years trying to control my future. They thought they could break me. They thought I'd always need them, but I proved them wrong, and I have never looked back. Cutting off my parents should have been the end of it. I had made my choice. I wasn't going to let them dictate my life anymore. But people like them, they don't just accept that kind of thing. At first, things were quiet, too quiet. I had blocked their numbers, ignored their emails, and locked down my social media. I thought maybe, just maybe, they had finally given up. I was wrong. The first sign that something was off came when an old family friend, Mrs. Thompson, messaged me out of nowhere. Hey, sweetie, I ran into your mother the other day and she told me you were going through a rough time. She's so worried about you. I know things have been tense, but maybe you should talk to her. I stared at my phone. A rough time? What the hell was she talking about? I replied, I'm doing great, actually. Haven't spoken to them in months. She responded with a confused emoji followed by, oh. Your mom made it sound like you were struggling. She said you lost your job and were too embarrassed to come home. My stomach dropped. I messaged back, that's a lie. I have a great job. I just don't talk to them anymore, Mrs. Thompson apologized, clearly uncomfortable, and ended the conversation. I should have known then that this was just the beginning. A few days later, I got an email from my aunt. I know things are tough between you and your parents, but they really miss you. I don't know the full story, but family is forever. Whatever happened, can't you just forgive them? Forgive them? I sat there staring at my screen, my hands clenching into fists. This wasn't a coincidence. My parents were actively spreading lies about me to our family and friends, making it sound like I was some kind of failure who had hit rock bottom. It was their way of controlling the narrative. If they couldn't control me, they could at least control how people saw me. I wasn't about to let that happen. I didn't just ignore my aunt's message. I posted my own public update on Facebook. I kept it simple. For those who have been misled, let me be clear, I'm doing great. I have a successful career, an amazing life, and no regrets. If you're hearing otherwise, you're being lied to. It was subtle, but the message was clear, and it worked. Some relatives started reaching out directly to ask what was going on. I kept it vague. No need to air my family drama, but I made sure they knew the truth. I wasn't struggling. I was thriving. Of course, my parents didn't take that well. 2 days later, I got an email from my mom. This is how you treat your family? After everything we've done for you, do you have any idea how much you've hurt us? We just wanted what's best for you, but clearly you're too selfish to care. I didn't respond. A week passed. Then my sister Emily messaged me. You really don't give a shit about us, do you? I sighed. I had been waiting for this. Emily had always been their backup plan. When my parents couldn't get their way, they sent her in as their emotional hitman. I replied, What do you want, Emily? She sent a wall of text. You abandoned mom and dad after they gave you everything. They just wanted you to be successful. Do you know how much you embarrassed them when you threw your life away for some stupid marketing job? And now you're acting like they're horrible people. Grow up. You're acting like a spoiled brat. I stared at my phone, my pulse rising. This was exactly why I cut them off. It wasn't just about control. It was about never being enough. I had spent my entire life trying to meet their impossible expectations, and the moment I chose something different, I became the villain. I didn't take the bait. I just wrote back, I don't need their approval. and I sure as hell don't need yours. Don't contact me again. I blocked her. I thought that was the end of it. Then they showed up at my workplace. I was in the middle of a meeting when the receptionist called. There's a man and woman here saying they're your parents. They're demanding to see you. My blood ran cold. I took a deep breath, forced myself to stay calm, and said, "Tell them to leave." A few minutes later, I got a text from an unknown number. "You can't avoid us forever. We need to talk." I blocked it. Later, my boss pulled me aside. "I don't know what's going on," she said carefully. "But a man claiming to be your father just tried to meet with HR. He said you were in trouble and needed guidance." I felt like I was going to be sick. I had worked so hard to prove myself, and now my parents were trying to sabotage me from the outside. I apologized to my boss, explaining that my parents were controlling and manipulative, and that I had cut contact with them for a reason. She nodded. "I figured as much. Don't worry, we're not taking them seriously." I went home that night, furious. They couldn't control me anymore, so they were trying to make me look incompetent in front of my employer. I drafted a final email to them. "If you ever contact my workplace again, I will take legal action. If you show up at my home, I will call the police. Leave me alone." I sent it and blocked their emails. That should have been the end. But my parents weren't done. A week later, I got an alert from my bank. Someone had attempted to access my accounts. My stomach dropped. I checked my emails. Sure enough, there were multiple password reset requests for my bank, my email, even my credit cards. I had no doubt it was them. They had all my personal information. They knew my security questions. They thought they could lock me out of my own accounts and force me to come crawling back. They didn't realize I had already changed everything. Security settings, passwords, even my banking information. They got nothing. But that was the final straw. I filed a cease and desist against them. My lawyer sent them a letter stating that any further attempts to interfere with my life, whether through my job, my finances, or my personal space, would result in legal action. And just like that, the messages stopped. For the first time in my life, my parents had no power over me. They tried to control my future. They tried to ruin my career. They tried to sabotage my success, and they failed. I was finally free. For the first time in my life, my parents had no power over me. The cease and desist must have shaken them because everything went silent. No messages, no random calls from unknown numbers, no more distant relatives or family friends reaching out to guilt trip me. It was weird. I'd spent years waiting for their approval, dodging their manipulation, bracing myself for the next guilt trip. And now? Nothing. I should have been relieved, but I knew them. My parents weren't the type to let things go. And I was right, because a month later, they found a new way to get to me. It started when I got a call from an old college friend, Matt. "Hey, man," he said hesitantly. "I just wanted to check in. I saw something online, and I wasn't sure if you knew about it." My stomach tightened. "What do you mean?" "Your dad posted something on LinkedIn." I froze. Matt hesitated. "You should probably see it yourself." I hung up and immediately searched for my dad's profile. Sure enough, there it was. A long, dramatic post about how he and my mom had a son who had been led astray and brainwashed by toxic online influences. It was full of vague, manipulative nonsense. He was such a bright, promising young man. We gave him every opportunity, every resource, but he turned his back on family values. We tried to help him, but he shut us out, convinced we were the enemy. Now he spreads lies about us, refusing to acknowledge everything we did for him. It breaks our hearts to see him like this. We only pray that one day he realizes his mistakes and comes back to his real family. I felt my blood boiled. They were framing themselves as the victims, again. And the worst part? The comments were full of sympathy. "You did your best. Some kids just lose their way. He'll come back one day. Just keep praying." So heartbreaking. You raised him right, and this is how he repays you? I clenched my jaw. I could have ignored it. I could have let it slide. But I was so tired of letting them twist the truth. So I did something they never expected. I commented directly on my dad's post. This is an interesting rewrite of history. Let's clarify. I didn't turn my back on family. I cut off toxic, manipulative people who tried to control my life. You didn't support me. You tried to sabotage my career because I refused to follow your script. You spread lies about me struggling when I was thriving. You tried to hack into my accounts when I wouldn't talk to you. You showed up at my job and harassed my employer. You don't miss me. You miss controlling me. But that will never happen again. You are not my family anymore. And then I logged off. I expected a reaction, and I got one. An hour later, my phone started blowing up with messages from blocked numbers I didn't answer. I could imagine exactly what they were saying. Rage, guilt, tripping, more lies. I wasn't interested. But then Emily called me from a new number. I almost ignored it, but a part of me, the part that still remembered when we were kids, before she became their puppet, answered. What do you want, Emily? She hesitated. Why did you have to do that? I laughed bitterly. Do what? Tell the truth? You didn't have to humiliate them. Like how they tried to humiliate me? I snapped. She sighed. Look, they were wrong, okay? I get that, but they're still mom and dad. I leaned back in my chair, rubbing my temples. Why are you even calling me, Emily? They're selling the house, she said quietly. I blinked. And? They're struggling, she admitted. They overextended on their mortgage. They thought Dad's firm would be more successful than it was. And after everything with you, they lost a lot of their connections. People don't trust them the way they used to. I felt nothing. A year ago, I would have felt guilty. I would have let that pull me back in. But now? Not my problem. They did this to themselves, I said. They did this to themselves, I said. Emily was silent for a long time. You're really not going to help them? No, I said simply. I heard her breath hitch, like she was about to cry. But she chose them. She stood by them while they tried to ruin me. She called me selfish when I walked away. And now that their lives were falling apart, she wanted me to come back? I hung up. And then I blocked her. That was the last time I ever spoke to any of them. Over the next few months, I heard through mutual friends that my parents were completely unraveling. My dad's firm was struggling. They were forced to downsize, moving into a small apartment in a city they hated. Emily, after years of being babied, had to learn how to fend for herself. And me? I was thriving. I got a promotion, I traveled, I built real relationships with people who actually cared about me. I stopped feeling like I had to prove myself. I was finally free. But then, one final message came through, from a random email account. It was from my mom. We know we made mistakes, but we're still your parents. We still love you. Please, let's talk. I stared at the screen for a long time, and then, without a second thought, I deleted the email. They had spent years trying to control me, trying to break me, trying to make me need them. But I proved them wrong. I never needed them, and I never will. I stared at the email for a long time. We know we made mistakes, but we're still your parents. We still love you. Please, let's talk. For a brief second, I felt something stir in my chest, but then I remembered. I remembered every time they dismissed my dreams, every time they guilt-tripped me into following their plan, every time they tried to sabotage me when I didn't comply. And just like that, the feeling was gone. I deleted the email without responding. I expected that to be the end of it. It wasn't. A week later, I got a call from an unknown number. Normally, I wouldn't have answered, but for some reason, I did. The moment I heard her voice, I regretted it. It's me, my mom said quietly. I sighed. What do you want? She hesitated, like she was trying to pick the right words. I don't want things to end like this. They ended a long time ago, I said coldly. I know we hurt you, she said, her voice shaking. We made mistakes, but we were only trying to help. We wanted you to have the best life possible. I laughed bitterly. No, you wanted me to have your version of the best life, and when I didn't follow it, you tried to destroy everything I built. Please, she whispered, can't we move past this? No, I said simply. She let out a small gasp, like she couldn't believe I was really saying it. You don't mean that. I do, I said. I spent my entire life trying to earn your approval, and the moment I stopped obeying, you turned on me. You didn't love me. You loved controlling me. That's not true, she whispered. Really? You didn't spread lies about me being a failure? You didn't try to sabotage my job? You didn't try to hack my bank accounts? That wasn't control? She didn't answer. I let out a slow breath. I'm not angry anymore, Mom. I'm not even hurt. I just don't care. You're strangers to me now. Her breath hitched. But we're your family. I shook my head. No, family doesn't do what you did. She started crying. Maybe they were real tears, maybe they weren't. It didn't matter. I hung up, and then I blocked the number. That was the last time I ever spoke to my mother. Months passed. For the first time, my life felt mine. No more guilt, No more manipulation. No more waiting for their approval. I threw myself into my career. I traveled, made new friends, and built a life that was exactly how I wanted it to be. And then one day I got a call from a mutual acquaintance. "Hey, I thought you'd want to know. Your parents moved." I frowned. "What do you mean?" "They sold everything. Downsized. Apparently they're struggling financially." I should have felt something, pity, regret, even satisfaction. But all I felt was nothing. I had spent years trying to earn their love, years bending over backward to make them proud. And when I stopped playing their game, they tried to ruin me. And now? They had nothing left. I didn't celebrate. I didn't feel bad. I just moved on. Because for the first time in my life, I realized something. I never needed them. And I never will.